Hello students, welcome to Reader's Workshop. So today, before we start, we're going to talk about a few things. First of all, I'm going to remind you of something we talked about at the beginning of the school year. Most books, most writing fall into two different groups. Fiction. So fiction books are made up stories that are not true. And there could be a lot of different kinds of stories. There can be fairy tales or mysteries or fantasies or stories that happen in space. But basically they are made up and they are not true. They could also seem like they could be true. There's a kind of fiction called realistic fiction where the things could really happen that happen in the story, but they are still made up. We've been reading a lot of fiction on and off, but we're going to start to focus more and more on nonfiction. Nonfiction or information books are books about people, places, animals, events, and things that are real. And when we read nonfiction books, it's good to pay attention to parts of the book. And I talk about this all the time with you. So for some of you, it's a review, or maybe it's just reminding you to pay better attention, because these nonfiction text features is what we call them. That means the text is the writing. So these are features or like characteristics of the text. They help us understand what we read. So pictures, that's the first one, right? Lots of information books have pictures. The pictures could be drawings if they're about things that are old, or the art or the writer chose to have drawings, or they could be photographs. There might be a caption. A caption gives information about the picture, and it's usually smaller than the rest of the text. So here's a little example. I don't know if you could see where the writing is teeny tiny and it's next to the picture. I'll be pointing that out more. And our sign for that is caption, like you're putting on your cap. The heading. The heading tells what you will learn in that section. It's usually bigger and bold. And lots of times I'll point that out to you. I'll say, oh, there's a header, and we touch our head, right, for header. Another thing we often find is the table of contents. It's a list of sections with the page numbers telling you what you're going to learn. Near the end of the book, you'll find a glossary sometimes. It's important new words and what they mean. Sometimes it's just with writing. Sometimes it also has pictures to help you understand the new words. And then an index, important words with the page numbers where you will find them, okay? There's also another feature in a nonfiction book, and those are charts. So a chart is a diagram that shows information. In fact, you guys have been drawing diagrams. That's a kind of chart in some of your seesaw assignments, right? What I wear to keep warm, what I enjoy doing with apples, stuff about corn, right? Those are diagrams. You're already making those yourself, right? There are other kinds of charts like maps and timelines. So we're going to keep an eye out for these text features as we start to read more information books. And for today, I'm going to read to you a book about Pocahontas, right? So that was part of our message earlier today. What do you know about Pocahontas? And we're going to start to learn. And this is a special kind of nonfiction book. It's called a biography. I've talked about this before, but to remind you, biography. That means a story or a book about someone's life. If you look at the word parts, bio is from Greek. Bio means life. Graphy has to do with writing, so like life writing. Biography. And we could clap that. Let's clap it. Biography. How many syllables? Biography. 4 syllables, right? Biography. So let's take a look at this biography about Pocahontas. And there is a picture of Pocahontas on the cover. Now, I'll tell you, most of the pictures we have of Pocahontas are from someone's imagination, because she was from so long ago that we didn't have photographs, right? That maybe someone imagined she looked like that or drew a picture of her, by Lola Schaefer. And this is a series called First Biographies. On the back are a list of other famous people they've written first biographies about. Here we go. Oops, sticky pages. Pocahontas by Lola Schaefer. And there's another picture from someone's imagination of what they think Pocahontas might look like. Oh, table of contents. Pocahontas and her family, living with the English, speaking for peace. Words to know, read more, internet sites, index word list. So I'm going to take a look before I even start, right? I'm going to sneak peek. I see a picture, right? We talked about pictures in information books. I see a caption. See this little writing with an arrow? It's explaining that picture. That's a caption, right? Caption. It says, Pocahontas statue in Jamestown, Virginia. And then look along the bottom, there is a timeline. That's a kind of chart. So these books we're going to be reading are full of this cool stuff. Here we go. Pocahontas was born in America around 1595. She and her family were Native Americans. Her father was Chief Powhatan. She was his favorite daughter. He listened to her ideas. So let's stop and think 1595, so that's about 400 years ago. And again, I see a picture, I see a caption, and I see a timeline. There's a picture of some ships. It says English settlers building Jamestown. Now let's stop and think for a minute. This is after Columbus, right? So remember, Columbus came to the New World for those kings and queens of England. They were looking for, do you remember? Sparkles, spices, and silks. And after Columbus came, which was 100 years before this, people kept coming. And they were looking for valuable things. And so the country of England sent settlers, and we'll be learning more and more about that. And they met the Powhatan. In 1607, English settlers came to America. They built Jamestown on land ruled by Chief Powhatan. Captain John Smith was the leader of Jamestown. Here's English settlers building Jamestown. And on the timeline, it has around 1595, Pocahontas is born. 1607, first English settlers arrive. Oh, wow. Now I see a map. And remember, a map is another kind of chart. The Native Americans and the settlers traded food and tools. The Native Americans were willing to share their land, but the settlers wanted to own the land. Fighting soon began. So to own something, right, is when it belongs to you and you only, and no one else can use it. And the Native Americans didn't agree to that. Here's a map showing the land that was ruled by Chief Powhatan, and this is on top of a map that shows what our state is like today. So here's Virginia and here's Maryland. So he was the ruler over a lot of land. And the little red dot of Jamestown is where the settlers came. Okay, I see some Native Americans talking with some English. Pocahontas and her people wanted peace. Pocahontas helped make peace with the settlers, but fighting began again when Captain Smith returned to England in 1609. Peaceful trade between settlers and Native Americans. And on the timeline, it shows 1609 when Captain Smith, that was one of the leaders of the settlers, who was kind of able to get along with the Native Americans. But once he left, there was more and more arguing. The settlers captured Pocahontas. Yes, they kidnapped her. They kept her at Jamestown for 1 year. Chief Powhatan missed his daughter. The settlers talked with Chief Powhatan about returning Pocahontas. So here, and again, this is from someone's imagination at that time, showing what she might have looked like. And here's 1613, Pocahontas is captured by settlers. I got to stop and think. When you disagree, when you're having disagreements with people, is it okay to kidnap them? Wow. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have to think some more about whether that's okay. Oh, wow. This is a picture. It says Pocahontas dressed as an English woman. The settlers dressed Pocahontas in English clothes. They taught her how to write and speak English. Pocahontas wanted to teach the settlers about her people. So she learned all about the English, and she wanted to teach them, the settlers, about her people. In 1614, Pocahontas married an Englishman named John Rolfe. They had a son named Thomas. Pocahontas, John, and Thomas went on a trip to England. This is a picture of the marriage of Pocahontas and John Rolfe. And again, this is from someone's imagination. They didn't really look like that. So in the end, while she was captured, she got so used to living with the English, she also met an Englishman whom she fell in love with and married. And then she went to England. Pocahontas spoke with the King and Queen of England. She wanted the English to respect Native Americans. She wanted the settlers and Native Americans to live together peacefully. And the timeline has continued with the events in the book. So we're up to 1616. Pocahontas travels to England, and there's a picture of Pocahontas with the Queen. Pocahontas died in England in 1617. She wanted Native Americans and the English to understand each other. She worked hard for peace. So that's sad that she died. Here are words to know. Read more internet sites. And we know those words, so we won't review them. And then the index. So that was our first book about Pocahontas and the Powhatan and the learning we're going to do about Native Americans over the next month or so. And it's a biography, right? It was about her life. And there were lots of details in there that we are going to learn more and more about over the next few weeks. Things about how the settlers got along and didn't get along, things about Pocahontas herself. We're also going to try to learn a lot about the Powhatan, the Native Americans who were here for thousands of years before the settlers ever came. So I hope you enjoyed Pocahontas, and I hope you will keep remembering and noticing in the information books you read some of these nonfiction text features, right? Keep an eye out for the pictures, the captions, the headers. Maybe you'll notice the table of contents, a glossary, an index, and some charts, diagrams, maps. I look forward to hearing from you about noticing these things in your reading. See you later. Bye.